Today, let's dive into the dark world of fine dining and why you should watch out if a fancy restaurant opens near you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Alternative Jargon episode number 34. If you're watching on YouTube, this is not a look that I usually sport. Right now I'm wearing glasses and a beanie. And there's a reason for that. It is currently 4:52 a.m. and I just could not sleep. So I said, you know what? Let's get a little bit ahead. Let's film the episode now. So we're filming. Welcome to Alternative Jargon. I have never recorded an episode at this time. Usually it's about 12 hours later from now. But nonetheless, we're here. We're doing it. My hearing is a little bit muted because of, the beanie that's half covering my ears. But we're doing it. So today, look, 2 episodes ago in episode number 32, I talked about how the algorithms on social media can sometimes lead you down passages that you would never normally go down. And it is never more true than the passage that I was led down this past week. This past week, I was led down the cold-blooded, potentially satanic, definitely elitist path of fine dining. I was watching cooking videos on TikTok because I love to. If you know Zach Choi on TikTok, he makes great ASMR cooking videos. He will cook the most elegant looking dish you've ever seen, but he'll use ingredients like Kraft slices made of plastic and hot dogs that are made of, whatever hot dogs are made of. I love those videos, but then I started to get cooking videos on YouTube, and one thing leads to another. Next thing you know, I'm watching videos about really nice fine dining restaurants. So, and one of these really stuck out to me more than the others. So there is a restaurant in Copenhagen, Denmark, and look, these fine dining places, there's always something unique about them usually. Well, I wouldn't say all of them. A lot of them are, you walk in and it looks like you're going to get a flu shot sitting at a table, but then they bring you, a $500 meal. But then there are other ones that try to give you a whole quote-unquote experience when you come in to, spend a whole month of rent on a meal. And this one in particular really just caught my attention because to me it looks like they are basically trying to simulate joining a cult or, being a part of what the QAnon movement would call you an elitist. They try to simulate that. So now the YouTube channel that I stumbled upon is called Alexander the Guest. This is some Hungarian dude on YouTube who goes to all these Michelin star restaurants, expensive restaurants, fine dining restaurants. And he makes great content. Don't get me wrong. In like the span of 2 hours, I went from knowing nothing about this entire community to suddenly critiquing a restaurant because, that dish that looks a little bit off. It's not as symmetrical as it could be. Take away one of their Michelin stars. So in the span of 2 hours, naturally, I went from not knowing anything to basically call the inspector, have this place shut down because it just doesn't look right. And that's how things should be on the internet. Now, this guy, Alexander, he has the perfect accent to be reviewing these places. He is Hungarian. He does speak whatever language they speak there. Is Hungarian a language? I don't want to get that wrong. It is, it's 5 a.m. I can't be getting that wrong at this time. Actually, there might be never a more appropriate time to get that wrong. But whatever his primary language is, he has the perfect accent for this. And the facial expressions that he makes about some of the things that he likes and dislikes about these restaurants is simply perfect. If you haven't seen his channel, I highly recommend you check it out. But I just love it because, look, obviously he knows what he's doing at these places. He's been to hundreds of these places. He actually owns a 1 Michelin star restaurant. And if you don't know what Michelin stars are, I'll get to that later. But the way he explains it, I absolutely love. And it's addicting to watch. You know, they'll bring something out and he'll go, "This dish came out with a beautiful dribble of wasabi that simply made my day." He loves the fine details. You know, I walked into this restaurant and the chairs were made of the finest mahogany I have ever seen. Simply a great start to the experience. And I'm not making this up. This guy loves the fine details. And I think anyone who goes to these restaurants, you know, you have to love the fine details. Otherwise, why are you there? And I'll get to that later about why you're there. But yeah, he seems like a great guy. He seems genuine, makes great content. And honestly, when I first stumbled upon these videos, I was expecting to go to the comments section and just see people roasting the crap out of this guy, saying, you know, what a snob, this guy's a loser, this and that. Because he goes to these places, he drops $2,000 to get a meal and some wine, and but no, the comments are very positive. And you know, I guess you could say I can't think for myself, because that sort of rubbed off on me, and I said, you know what, this is a good guy. If he was really that snobby about his food and his restaurants and his wine, he wouldn't be sharing this information on YouTube with all of us peasants who can't afford the meal. So, Alexander the Guest, great guy. And I want to preface everything I'm about to say by saying that I do not believe that Alexander the Guest is a Satan worshiper, and also that everything I'm about to say is a comedic bit, because I'm not trying to get this episode taken off YouTube like the one at the beginning of this year. So everything I'm about to say is meant to be a comedic bit. You hear that, YouTube administration? It's meant to be a comedic bit. But, you know, I'll just say this. You saw the title of this episode. You know what we're talking about here. Let me just say, is it really a coincidence that the most famous chef show in the world is called Hell's Kitchen? Gordon Ramsay, I'd love to love you, man. But after this, I don't know. Is Gordon Ramsay going to, you know, is he going to Bohemian Grove to worship Moloch? I don't know. And if he does, good for him, honestly, for making the invite. He should at this point. But I really want to show you guys this video. It's a great video. So let's just get into it. I'll put it up on the screen. If you're not watching on YouTube, I highly recommend it. So yeah, let's get into it. This is Alexander the Guest going to this restaurant that I mentioned in Copenhagen. Let's get into it.
I arrived to this place with skepticism. It's known for its multisensory experience, high concept dishes, and one of the most expensive restaurants on earth. Just a big song and dance to take people's money.
Look at this place. Look at that. Whoa.
Join us as we travel to Denmark and
I'm going to skip around a bit because it is a 16-minute video. We don't have time for all that. So let's skip around. Look at this guy. Is that Frankenstein?
John is creative.
That's mean. So they walk into this room, and so first of all, it's like you're joining a cult. Look at this. It's very much eyes wide shut. I'm surprised they're not wearing face masks, because They really do like to make it look like you are about to do something more than just eat some food. And,
Suddenly,
you know, I would love to see the job application for this woman,
my kind of place.
who you walk in and they say, we need you to act like a medieval jester for this restaurant. But, you know, that's just me.
1,000 bottles.
Skip around a little bit.
The ones we have
Wine cellar, who cares? They all have that.
essential, amplified, and exclusive.
So,
And after a few years, food. He wants to. It is egg yolk.
so you know, pretty traditional restaurant. But then they get to this big room. Now look at this.
The aim is to give people a tiny experience outside
They go into this room where there's a giant overhead dome. It's almost like the Las Vegas Sphere. And the graphics they put up here are a little bit weird. And I'll show you more of the... Yeah, like, look at that. What is that? Okay. And then they're going to serve you food out of this eyeball. Now, when this first came out, when I first watched this video, I thought that you were supposed to eat the whole eyeball. And look at that, 1984, George Orwell. But no, you're just supposed to eat the top of the eyeball. You're supposed to eat the pupil. But either way, this feels very much... it feels very much like... what's the word? Yeah, Rothschild 1972 party coded. It just doesn't feel right. Something about it feels really off. And let's skip around here some more. So they serve a dish that looks like a tongue, and it's on the screen, and I thought the whole tongue was edible too. Once again, I was wrong. You actually just lick the food off of the utensil that appears to be a human tongue. Really weird. Really reminds me of, once again, you know, Rothschild mansion type behavior. Let's skip around some more. So boring. Here you're eating food out of a human skull. You're eating food out of a cranium. And look, Alexander the Guest is a stand-up guy. He's not going to sit there and go, you know, why are you serving me food out of human skull? He's not going to say that because he's a stand-up guy. He wants to respect the restaurant. But I am not a stand-up guy. And I want to know why you're serving me food off of a human tongue and out of a human skull. It feels really weird to me. And honestly, I don't like it. This definitely, well, I'm not going to get to that yet. Here they are serving, are they going to show it again? Show it again. They serve food out of like a little cage. Where is it? Yeah, they serve food out of this little cage. And they literally chain the thing to the cage, and it's very much like, this feels like you're in like a McCamey Manor. If McCamey Manor was like a Michelin star restaurant, this is what it would be like. Like, eat this food out of a simulated human skull. Lick this food off of a simulated human tongue. Eat this food out of a cage. It's really weird, and it makes me uncomfortable, and I don't like it. Now, let me get to the end here, because he shows again this ceiling. Yeah, here, look. Yeah, let's just put a whole beating heart on the ceiling. Really weird stuff. And it's very, I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to me. It does not feel right. And look, I understand if you have this amount of money, you're probably a Freemason. You're definitely one of the elites. You're definitely somebody. And you just want a little bit of that taste of exclusivity. You want a little bit of that taste of, you know, the owners of this restaurant would probably be okay with my human trafficking record. I get that. I totally get that. The owners of this restaurant would probably be okay with my crimes against humanity. And the owners of these restaurants, of this one at least, is a genius. An absolute genius. They know their target market. And they know that the people that are dining here are evil. Okay? Whenever the guy from the movie 300 said, "Spartans, tonight we dine in hell," that's not what he was implying, but it's what the owner of this restaurant was implying. So elitists, tonight we dine in the Freemason Lodge. It's like a potluck for them. But, you know, I understand. It's the only thing that gets them off anymore. When I go out to eat, I don't want to go to Ping Pong Pizza in Washington, D.C. That place is the old spot. Forget about that. I don't want to go there. Whenever I go out to eat, I want it to feel like one of my cult meetings. I want it to feel like that. You know, forget about it. Spill the blood on my food. Why don't you? You know, what's the wine menu? There's no adrenochrome on that menu. No adrenochrome. Really? Yeah, this just got taken off YouTube probably. But hey, I'm just trying to have fun here. I'm trying to have fun. But I will say this. The people that dine at this Copenhagen location are entry-level elitists, okay? Look, the real elitists, the ones that you really have to be worried about, are at simplistic restaurants or not even at restaurants at all. The people that dine in this restaurant are not the ones that you have to have neighborhood watch for yet, because they're just entry level. Okay, the people that still go out to a Michelin star restaurant and say, "I want this to feel like a Bohemian Grove ceremony," they're entry level. Okay, they're new senators. They're people that are newly appointed to the United Nations. Once again, comedy. YouTube, this is comedy. Not trying to get deleted again. That sucked. I don't need another strike. This is comedy. It's all a joke. It's a joke. But yeah, these guys are new to it. They go, "Oh my gosh, this feels just like we're at the Grove. This feels just like my first time at the Rothschild Mansion." They're new to it, and they still need that little bit of edge to it. And these are what I'm going to call tier 3 elitists, because that's what they are. They're the bottom tier of elitists. Now, I am not anywhere close to that. If they're tier 3, I'm like tier 12, right? I'm nowhere near, and most people are not. Now you go to tier 2. Tier 2 elitists, you're starting to get more serious, if not already very serious. Tier 2 elitists that go to fine dining restaurants, they go to the simple ones because they understand. I've been at Bohemian Grove 3 times this week. I have done 5 satanic rituals in the last 72 hours. I don't need that right now. I need a little break from, the human sacrifice, and I need a little break from Lucifer. Can we just go out to eat at the sushi place where you pay $400, and they just seat you at a wooden table? I don't need the rest of I don't need all that right now. So the people that are at these type of restaurants are more dangerous than the ones that are at the scary restaurants. Like I said, very simple atmosphere, very simple decor, very simple everything, blank walls, things like that. These are people who have been in the top of the world for a few years at least. They're tired of it. Like I said, they've already sacrificed a couple people today. They're just over it. They go, I just want some good food. I don't need the culty experience. They're bored of it, right? These are lifelong senders. These are heads of government, heads of corporations, and, people like the Clintons. They go, I don't need all that right now. I already took the Lolita Express to Little St. James like 3 times today. I don't need this. I'm just trying to get food. But once again, these are just tier 2. Now, tier 1 elitists, top dogs right here. Top dogs. These are the ones that probably have these fine dining restaurants delivered to their house. And they might even have a guy in these places, the head chef, that they can just call up and have them cook in their own house. Okay, these chefs that make millions of dollars a year somehow cooking for these people, they have them on speed dial. They go, what's a French name? I don't know a French name. They go, yo, come over and cook. I'm having 50 people over. We're going to sacrifice a lamb and then spread the blood on our, whatever, and then do some chanting and then light a big bonfire out back and dance around it. And the guy goes, how much for this time? And he goes, 50,000. And he goes, yeah, that works. So these people, they have it delivered to their house or they have it cooked in their house. They never leave the house. These are Rothschilds, Rockefellers, oil moguls, etc., etc. They stay in the shadows, and you will never catch them at one of these restaurants, because why should they leave their house if they don't have to? Why would they leave their giant Gothic mansion if they don't have to? They can call up their buddy and say, hey, we're having a little bonfire. We're going to do some chants. We're going to dance around it. We're going to sacrifice a human. And they go, standard rate? Yep. All right, we'll be there soon. They give them a date, they give them a time, and they say, hey, we'll pull up and we will have, a 20-course meal for everyone there. And that's all there is to it. So when you're watching American Psycho, Patrick Bateman is a tier 3 elitist. You think that he and all his yuppie buddies are cool with their metal American Express cards, and their fancy suits and their Jean Paul Gaultier bags. Okay, they're tier 3, maybe even 4. They are still clambering to get that reservation at Dorsia, and it's not all it's hyped up to be. I mean, I'm sure the food is good. Like Paul Allen said, great sea urchin ceviche, we know. But these guys, at the end of the day, are tier 3 at best. Tier 3 at best. And it doesn't even matter that Patrick Bateman was a murderer, because the real elites don't ever do the murder with their own hands. And everyone knows that, okay? So, yeah, the Rothschilds, they don't leave their mansion. They bring the party to them. But all jokes aside, once again, YouTube, that was comedy. That was supposed to be funny. It wasn't serious. But, the world of fine dining really intrigues me a lot. I looked it up. There are almost 3,000 Michelin star restaurants in the world. Now, if you don't know what a Michelin star restaurant is, this is new news to me as well. So, A Michelin star restaurant is a restaurant that has been rated by the Michelin Guide as being one of the best in the world. And yes, by Michelin, I mean the same company that puts tires on your car. So these two French bros that invented Michelin tires in the late 1800s, they said, hey, how do we get people to use our tires? There's barely any cars yet. So they invented the Michelin Guide. And they basically said, hey, how do we get people to travel? By telling them where the good stuff is at. Then they'll want to drive there. So they started giving out this award in like the late 1920s for restaurants to go, hey, drive here. Use our tires. Use our tires to drive here. And yeah, so literally, whenever a restaurant gets awarded Michelin stars, there is literally the big fat white guy Michelin mascot there. And that's hilarious to me because these people are like the biggest, most stuck up people in the world. Like, you must put the caviar on top of the sushi and you must scoop it with a wooden spoon so that it does not break the bubbles. And then they get awarded and there's just the Michelin man standing next to them. To me, that's hilarious. To me, that's kind of hysterical. You must not cook unless you know what you are doing. You must not cook this food unless you are an expert. And then the judges show up with an inflatable Pillsbury Doughboy to stand next to him to take their picture. It's hard for me to take it serious when they do that. Come on. I know that I know nothing about being a chef. I know, but how am I supposed to take you serious when you're posing with a corporate tire mascot? It's hard to take it serious. But I'm really surprised at how many of these restaurants there are. Like I said, there's almost 3,000 of these Michelin star restaurants. And by the way, that means that I don't know what the average price is, but if you buy the full course and you buy a wine package, you're not walking out of there for less than $1,000 US. $1,000 for a meal, and there's 3,000 of these restaurants in the world, and I can't believe that there's that many people that can afford that. If I didn't know anything about these restaurants and I had to take a guess of how many restaurants in the world does it cost $1,000 to walk out with a meal, I would say maybe a couple hundred. That makes sense to me. Like, there's one here, there's one there, there's one there. There's a lot of space between them. You gotta, of course, there's one in the big cities, whatever. But there's almost 3,000 of them. And that is crazy to me because how is there that big of a market for these places? How are there 3,000 locations in the world where it costs this much to get food? And how are they all sustaining that? I guess there's just more rich people and more human trafficking pedophiles in the world than I really thought. It's a joke, YouTube. I guess there's just more than I thought. But yeah, now most of these are in Western Europe. A lot of them are in France. And that makes sense because France is like, the stuck-up capital of the world. Their main exports are cheese, wine, these restaurants, perfume, cologne, and that's about it. So, and if you watch some of Alexander the Guest's videos, even though these restaurants bring out 20 dishes to you, the dishes are one bite. And I'd really like to think that after these people leave these restaurants, they go to McDonald's, because there's no way they're full. There's no way they're full. And maybe that's the American in me talking. Maybe the Europeans are just not as fat as we are. But there's absolutely no way they're full. There's no way. This guy goes, and then they brought out the main course. And it's 2 bites. He'll go, it is Atlantic salmon with caviar topped with cream and sauce and garnished with green pepper. And it's 2 bites. It's 2 bites. It's 2 bites. And that's the quote-unquote main course. So I really would love if these people would leave these restaurants and just go to Burger King and get a Whopper. And that's what I would do, because there's no way you're full. You're not fooling anybody. You're not full yourself. How are you going to fool other people? So, yeah. I'd really like to see a spray chart about Michelin star restaurants and human trafficking too, because it's similar to me to the billionaire yacht route every year. If you follow the billionaire yacht route, there's just human trafficking following them very closely, because, and if you didn't know, the billionaire yacht club, they all go to the same places at the same time every year. There's a schedule. So even if you're a billionaire, it's you have to follow a schedule. If I'm a billionaire, I'm going to order Taco Bell every day and sit in my room. But these guys are let's go to Saint Tropez and traffic minors. Talk about being a loser. Come on, dude. You have all that money. Can you just sit back and do something cool? I don't know. But yeah, there's always a bunch of disappearances of people wherever the boys club is traveling at that certain time. One thing I love about the chefs too at these Michelin star restaurants is they have these professional photo shoots that make them look like all-star athletes. They're posing in front of their restaurants very dramatically. And, it does kind of make sense though, because these chefs are sort of like quarterbacks on an NFL team. They go to culinary school, and then they back up another chef for a few years, and then they finally get the starting job and they open their own restaurant. And it's sort of like the Green Bay Packers, You have Aaron Rodgers backing up Brett Favre for many years, and finally he gets a starting job, and he opens a Michelin star restaurant. So it does make sense why they have those photo shoots, I suppose. But, I thought that sort of stuff only existed in Ratatouille, but I was wrong. But, I did get inspired watching all of these fine dining videos. I went to my local grocery store and I bought an $8 jar of caviar, and I dipped crackers in it. And I said, you know what? If I'm watching all these fine dining videos, I have to feel like I'm part of the club. So $8 jar of caviar, $3 box of crackers, and let me tell you, it made the viewing experience all that much better. So am I really better than the human traffickers that go to these restaurants? I don't know. I don't think so. So I guess you could say I've elevated my taste in the past few days. I will be announcing my Senate campaign in a few weeks so that someday I too can traffic people and eat $500 lunches every day. That is the end goal of this podcast. And if the Senate route doesn't work out, I'll try the Epstein route and go with blackmail. So thank you for listening. Once again, YouTube is all a joke. It's all a joke. It's all a joke. It's all a joke. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.